have a packed audience here at the Elgin History Museum today. Jerry Turnquist once again is bringing in the crowds. I think a bus is pulling up right now with some people to see this. And so I'm here. I'm Bill Briska. I used to be the president here. I'm the treasurer, and I was asked to introduce Jerry this morning. There's dispel rumors that I went to grade school with him or something of that sort. Anyhow, so this is a little pageant a little presentation on the Miss Elgin pageant of 1925. And I'll turn it over to the swim the suit judge to be here, Jerry Turnquist. Thank you. Oh, and by the way, we have plenty of refreshments here at the museum if you want to hop in your car and drive on down. So
thank you and welcome. It's good to be here and take you through this program. This has been given before, so some of you might have heard about it or saw it. Went, hey, I think I've given that program one other time. But and that's actually the case. So actually, this is almost 100 years ago now, 1925. We're looking at an event that took place and took place in August, just like this particular month is. So let's take a look here. How did this begin here? How did we have a Miss Elgin pageant? And what led into all that? Well, in 1921, 1922, Chicago hosted what was called its Pageant of Progress. And they had parachute jumps and beauty queens, pigeon races, band concerts, even a typing contest. Tens of thousands of people attended the event. And this success led to the inspiration of an Elgin Pageant of Progress. And it was launched in 1925 by the booster club of the Elgin Motor Club. The Elgin Motor Club was becoming very, very active at this time. And along with the Elgin Merchants Association and other civic organizations. The Elgin Motor Club got going as soon as cars started appearing, promoting for better roads and things like that. And they were advocates for getting the first school safety patrols by one of our schools. And somebody could probably do a whole program about them sometime. So what took place in this Pageant of Progress, when I was doing this earlier, someone said, you've got blank squares there, but no, I'm techie enough to fly a few things in here. Manufacturing and merchant exhibit, style pageant, beauty baby contest. We'll see a tiny bit from that. A musical review, parades, motor show. The cars are a big part of this, and a bathing beauty review and contest were planned, and that's kind of the main focus of the program today. So why are we going to run this pageant and this beauty contest? The organizers, and all my materials pretty much out of the paper, by the way. They wanted to acquaint the public with the products made here in Elgin, what Elgin's doing today. And Elgin was a very, very booming town then, and not that it isn't today in many ways, and what merchants have to offer in our community. They touted in their materials and handouts 50 facts about the city that everybody should know about this time in the mid-20s. We have 32,000 residents, 27 churches, 11 missions, parks composing 228 acres, 4 theaters, all right downtown, the YM and YWCA, and a large municipal pool, which that got cut off. So why else come to Elgin? Why be part of what's going on in Elgin these days? Well, 2 newspapers, 88% of the people own their own homes in Elgin, 84 passenger trains and express trains, museum in Lodge Park. It's now our Elgin Public Museum, and a modern and complete library. These are some of the things they listed in their promotional materials, not that necessarily that I pulled out, but certainly agree with them. There's over 50 factories, 7,500 workers, manufacturing was very much a part of Elgin at the time. It was a trading center for 78,000 people. It really was very much a shopping area of Northern Illinois, as it would continue for decades. And department stores offer a large variety of merchandise in Elgin. So what did it look like in Elgin in 1925? These are some pictures out of their promotional brochure. And actually, if I did a little homework, I could have gotten some better images, but there's what they use. This is Chicago Street. I think it's a familiar scene to many, just coming across the bridge in downtown Elgin. And if you look closely, the cars are going both ways there. It wasn't until later years that we would make that a one-way street. And I always, when I give tours of downtown Elgin, people ask me, well, what are in some of those old buildings? I could say, well, there were a lot of bars down there, but this is 1925. We're dry now. So, or kind of dry. Anybody that knew where to go and knew where to get a drink. And it's another talk I think I'm going to do sometime. But the bars were there, the businesses were there. They'd been converted into other things. But this is technically right about the 5 years into Prohibition right now, national Prohibition. Elgin voted dry before that. So very iconic view of the Elgin National Watch Company taken about that time. That's the Butte Terrace Shopping Center. And the area in front of that a little bit is where the Grand Victoria Casino sits today. So the watch factory was at its peak at this time. We're starting to do wristwatches as well as making pocket watches. The popularity of wristwatches from soldiers returning from the war. Really, we've got over 4,000 people working at the watch factory, and that has been and is the subject of many talks that we do here and things in the museum and elsewhere. So Bunge's gas station, open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This was on South Grove Avenue, just north of National Street. And Bunge's would have other stores or gas stations around Elgin as well. And the name still carries on in some of the businesses named that today. But Herman Bunge was big on that. And this was beginning, not already there yet, beginning to be Car Row. And his gas station was just north of the watch factory by half a block, if even that. And people were really starting to drive cars, and that's another whole thing, the evolution of the car. It's in the 1920s. Masonic Temple had just been completed, 1923, 1924, I believe, and as 310 in Chicago and Geneva in Chicago. It became a big community center, and in many ways serve as the what our Hemmons does today, and it's very much a community center. So Elgin Sweeper Company, located along the river south of the National Street Station, and they're still with us today on the eastern edge of Elgin, and would leave this area, and slot machines would be made there later, and some other history. So Pearsall Butter Company, one of the vestiges of the butter heritage in Elgin, and that building would later become sheds and become very visible to people. So we don't have a Highland Avenue Bridge here, by the way. So we're looking for the Highland Avenue Bridge. That didn't come in until the early 40s. So a lot of people remember that right on the Highland Avenue Bridge as you go across the river. Sheely's grocery store located right downtown Elgin, advertised 10 trucks a day, made 6 deliveries. So it was literally one of the very biggest grocery stores in Northern Illinois, and certainly one of the biggest ones in Elgin, located right downtown. These were some of the businesses that we would put in do the civic improvements down there in the 60s and build out the civic centers we know it today. It's one of the buildings that would be lost, but they'd since closed before that. So what else was different in Elgin? We still had 4 blacksmiths. I challenge you to find a business that does just blacksmithing today. There might be some around. Wooden coal dealers, there were 12. They were all common. Dressmakers, grocery stores, 93 grocery stores in Elgin. Every corner almost had one, and you've been around Elgin long enough, and you could remember the one that was by you or that you would want to. Shoe repair stores, they're pretty rare today, 18 of them. And then you could buy cars. The Fords and Chevys were there, but I wanted to throw in some of the other types of cars, the Locomobiles, Franklin Drews, Boons, Flants, Clevelands. There were 20 different car dealers in downtown Elgin at that time. So where would the profits go for this show now? Back to the program. Why are we going to run this big program here? We want to promote Elgin, obviously, as a big goal of this. But we're going to benefit the police and firemen's fund. That's what organizers said. And there'd also be a fund for Kane County motorcycle officers to draw from in case of an accident. Some of the different police officers are on motorcycles at that time, and I know this just by reading the old newspapers all the time, weren't always the most popular. They like sneaking up out of nowhere and giving speeding tickets to people sometimes too. So, but it was a new way, and the state, the police are just getting going on that. These are some of the King County motorcycle officers from the promotional brochure, and Officer Roy Smith and Officer W. Hale Treadwell on their bikes. And these are ununiformed, or uniformed rather, members of the Elgin Police Department. So if you called on one of the boys in blue at the time, these would be some of the people that could respond to the call. And plainclothes members of the Elgin Police Department as well are featured in these promotional brochures. So what does the fire department have to offer? We have everything in the city of Elgin, and why you should move here and think about coming here. These are some of the members of the Elgin Fire Department, and these are some of the apparatus from Fire Station 1. It was right down there on Spring Street, just north of Chicago Street. And anybody that was there for quite a while, and if you were a kid like me in grade school, that was a common place to go take a tour and see what it looked like. So one of the most outstanding features of this pageant, though, this event in their brochure will be the Miss Elgin contest. So what would the rules be for getting involved in the Miss Elgin pageant? Well, it was open to women between 16 and 30 years of age, not married, divorced, or a widow of good care, of good reputation. There's no charge to enter. Contestants would be provided with an Annette Kellermann bathing suit. And she was a very popular swimmer at the time, Australian, I believe. And ads for Annette Kellermann swimsuits appearing in the paper at that time, and you could buy an Elgin as well if you want one. And this is Annette Kellermann, by the way, and one of her one-piece bathing suits. Don't ask me her history or story. I don't necessarily know, other than what I've learned by doing this particular presentation. Entry blanks for Miss Elgin contest appeared in the paper regularly, so you could clip them out, and there was a little entry area down at the bottom. And I know not everybody can read this there, but it asked you to sign on, and then who you were recommended by if someone was recommending you to be part of the contest.
Jerry,
Yep.
we had a question on what's just tighten hair, just, you know.
Off of this thing?
Will she have blonde, brunette, or
Oh. Well, another one. Oh, I don't know what that, I don't, yeah. I never read that. I don't know, but we'll find out, by the way, what. I guess, yeah. We'll find out what color hair she had, even though there's black and white photos. We do know the color of hair of each one, and I do note that in the program. So
It's red.
is it red? Yeah, anybody's got it. Okay, thanks. Anyway, so here's the contestants presented alphabetically. And I thought, am I going to click through all these? There's a lot of them. And I thought, yeah, I will, but I won't dwell on them because we'll make the program unnecessarily long. But these are pictures that came from the newspaper entries each time. They would just keep coming in day after day, week after week, and the newspaper would go, and here's another one, and here's another one that turned in their application, and they try to do a little story on them, and I reorganized them sort of alphabetically. The pictures here are maybe not the greatest. If I really wanted to put together a show that had lasting value and the highest quality I could, I'd go track down some of the different pictures. And actually, I do have a picture of the winner from her from her Elgin High School yearbook picture. But you know, for the most part, we're looking at newspaper images. So in alphabetical order, Celeste Barnes, 17, junior Elgin High School. Enlists her father, and father's in the moving and transfer business, and she lives at 117 Center Street. Gladys Benthusen, she never submitted a picture, at least it made it in the paper, lives at the YWCA, and as did others at the time. Parents are Irving and Helen, and she works at the watch factory. Juanita Burke, 18 years old, born in Elgin and lived in Elgin Chicago, lived in Elgin for the past 6 years, and worked at the Ellis Business College, which is right downtown Elgin, and it sort of fade away as Elgin Community College gained prominence, but went to Garfield School and Elgin High School, and lived at 618 Grace. Esther Brennan, 19 years old, born in Toluca, Illinois, works at Cook Publishing Company. Lived here in Elgin 1 year, lives at 482 Barrett, and her mother is deceased. She's not turned in the picture. Florence Brubaker, 19 years old, from Brevard, Illinois, lived in Elgin for the past year. CF Hall and Company, appeared in main parts of school theatricals, and lives at 275 Center Street. Dorothy Brussels, 16 years old, completed a 2-year stenographic course at Elgin High, worked at the Watch Factory, won some athletic medals, and lives on Wellington Avenue. Loretta Bryant, 23 years old, lives at the National House, born in Lakeland, Florida, Elgin resident, 13 years. Father is a producer, food producer, mother is deceased. Lucille Burns, 20 years old rather, 23 graduate of Elgin High School, won a beauty contest in 23. Lists her parents who both work at the Watch Factory, and she lives on North Street. Some of these people, of course, we were in a very big town, aren't very far from where we are here today. Helen Dabb works at the B.S. Pearsall Company. We saw a picture of the butter company, and lists her mother and father, and lives on Harvey Street on the west side. Myrtle Dempsey, 20 years old, lives at the National House, which is the rooming house for the Watch Factory residents. Lived in Elgin for 9 months. Parents live in Minnesota, where they farm. Marguerite True, who's 20 years old, attends Elgin schools, works at the Watch Case Company, which is on the north end, and lives at 619 Duncan Avenue, or Dundee Avenue, not far from that. Rose DeWitts, 19 years old, went to grant school in Metropolitan Business College, works at the Brethren Publishing Company, mother is deceased, and lives over on the west side. Janet Dykes, 16 years old, daughter of John Dykes, works at the Watch Factory for 35 years, a freshman at Elgin High School, lives at 237 Villa. Millard Ewart, 16 years old, didn't have anything more other than lives on Wellington Avenue. Blanche Fairchild, 19 years old, Elgin High School junior. I mean, you can barely see that image, but lives over on Cherry Street, close to the Fox River. Arlene Frisch, 20 years old, lifelong Elginite, 1924 high school graduate, daughter of a police officer, student at Chicago School of Beauty Culture, and works at the Watch Factory. Grace Frost, 19, blonde hair, lives at 343 Walnut Avenue on the near west side. Ella Skiles, 19 years old, lives on North Worth, also west side resident, winner of a typing medal at Elgin High School, and works at the Joseph Spies department store. Frances Gould, 19 years old, we don't have much on her. Martha Graff, 21 years old, lives in South Liberty, lifelong Elgin residents. 2 images appear. One was out of the booklet, and the other one was from the paper. Margaret Groneman, 19 years old, lifelong Elginite resident, employed by the State Highway Department, and lives on Page Avenue on the northeast side. Ruby Hanson, 16 years old, lifelong Elginite, works at the Watch Factory, attended Elgin High School for 1 year, and lives on Gray Street. Elgin High School had a 2-year plan at the time too. You didn't have to be in a 4-year plan. Marjorie Hess, 24 years old, blonde hair, works at the Watch Factory. Elgin High School graduate, lives with her parents in South Liberty Street. Leona Hopp, 17, lives on 287 College, not very far from here, works at the Watch Factory. Marjorie Karji, 17 years old, Elgin High School junior, lifelong Elginite, and lives on Van Street on the west side. Dorothy Landis, 19, lifelong Elginite, Elgin High School grad, Brethren Publishing Company, and lives on Milwaukee Street, which is now East Highland Avenue. Gladys Larson, lived on 900 Larkin Avenue, don't have much on her. Evelyn Lewis, 16 years old, moved to Elgin 3 years ago from Monroe, sophomore at Elgin High School. Jenny Mall, 17 years old, lived in Elgin for 13 years, employed at the Watch Case Company. By the way, someone even asked me the other day, I assume a lot of people know, watch cases were made in the north end of Elgin, and later some other products, and but watches were made originally just down at the factory. Got your products in 2 different places. For more on that, I'd always refer to Mr. Briscoe, who's an expert on that subject. And I'm not able to advance this thing right now. Do you have any idea here, or should I go to the arrows here? Let's see if I can go backwards. I can't do anything right now.
Nothing.
I have a cursor there.
Try now.
We're good. Thank you. Anyway, sure. Marie Middleton, 17 years old, came to Elgin 4 years ago. Watch factory, lives in Wayne. And Mr. and Mrs. Henry Middleton are her parents. Estelle Miller, 18 years old, Gray Street. Marjorie Mockler, 21 years old, South Liberty Street, worked at the watch factory. Ruth Monroe, 18 years old, lifelong resident, graduate Elgin High School, worked at the Illinois Bell Telephone Company, has appeared in public solo dances on Congdon Avenue. Lillian Mooskamp, 18 years old, lives on Mill Street from the west side, Kalamazoo, Michigan, lived in Elgin for 12 years. Virginia Muir will graduate in 1928, skating medals and other things. She was removed from the contest because she was found to be underage. So anyway, Bernice Meyer, 24 years old, employed by the Illinois Bell Telephone Company. Father works at the Windmill Company and left high school 8 years ago. And Grace Ott, 18 years old, another watch factory employee. And father had worked at the watch factory as well for a long time. Elsie Nelson, 16 years old, born in Chicago, 6-year resident in Elgin, Business College. Dorothy Noonan, 17 years old, born in McHenry, lived in Elgin most of her life, junior at Elgin High School. And Louise Pemba, 19 years old, lifelong Elgin resident. And Mildred Pease, Elgin High School graduate, lives in Parkway on the north side. Doris Renault, 18 years old, from Deerwood, Minnesota, employed at the watch factory. Father's a well-known Elgin barber. And Dorothy Siemens, 17 years old, lifelong resident. Irene Sandaway, 17 years old, from Janesville, Wisconsin, watch factory employee, stonecutter. Catherine Schmidt, 17 years old, attended schools here, works with her mother at the watch factory. Father's deceased. The judges said her long hairstyle makes her a formidable candidate. That's what appeared in the newspaper. So Evelyn Shatters, born in Hampshire, but lived in Elgin for many years, worked at the watch factory as well. Adeline Schertz, 22, Elgin residents for 3 years, worked at the watch factory. So I guess a lot of these people knew them. They're co-contestants from the watch factory. Ethel Stickle, 19, lifelong Elginite, worked at the watch factory and lives on the west side. Rose Chappelli, attended Elgin schools, works at the Cook Publishing Company. And Catherine Sherwood, 18 years old, lives at the YWCA. Both parents are deceased, expert swimmer. So this contest drew a lot of interest among women here, as you can tell. So Irene Sorensen, 16 years old, lifelong Elginite, works at the watch factory and lists her parents there as well. Irene's son, 16 years old, mother deceased, lives with her brother Ernst, carpenter and contract. Louise Sikora, 16 years old, student in Elgin High School. Father is employed in the Elgin area for 18 years. Helen Taylor, 19 years old, works at the watch factory. Father's a seam fitter. And Guinevere Thies, 16. Father's a streetcar operator. Ellis Todd, who's Charles Burnich's mother, by the way. I gave this program one other time, and he brought her swimsuit in. Not the one that was in this contest, but another one that she wore at the time. We put on a mannequin here. So I could have asked him to come today, but young people saw this before. So anyway, did she win? We'll have to see. Huh? Grace Trost, I don't have much more on her. Florence Ures, 18 years old, lives at the watch factory, born in Plato Center, lived in Elgin for 2 years. Mildred Zell, we're just about done. This is alphabetical order, remember. Mildred Zelsdorf, 18 years old, father's a carpenter and works at the watch factory. Then there was also one other usual entrance. They run a good contest. They pique your interest with all the different things they do. We had a girl with a golden mask, and she held that mask up during the contest. So prominent were other characteristics the newspaper said that she held a large golden masks during the program. So I don't know if you've been counting, but according to newspapers, and I didn't back this count up against what I just put in there, but the newspapers reported that the total number of entries were 65. So a lot of interest. Number who were 16 years old only is 13. Number with on here, 3, according to the newspapers. And the oldest was 24 years old, there were 2. And to answer your other question about the color of the hair, according to the newspapers, none had red hair. So, yes.
Yeah, so that was Kellermann swimsuit company that did, so all those swimsuits were.
They gave them to her. Everybody was given one of those that was a contestant.
Whether they were wearing it or not, I mean, from those pictures.
Yeah, I think they had to wear them in the contest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was Kellerman's here in Elgin? Did
No.
they make them here?
No, some of the local stores advertised that they sold them here. So, and again, Annette Kellermann and her prominence as a wherever she was a well-known swimmer, Australian, I believe. And I don't know that much about her, as I said, but she was known, and somebody could probably Google that and find that out a little bit. But those were the swimsuits that they wore in here, Annette Kellermann. Some of the stores had them, and they were provided a Annette Kellermann swimsuit, according to the promotional information here. Oh, anyway, backing up to that. So you want to see any rehearsals? You're not going to see them. The rehearsals that took place at the Moose Lodge, which was then on East Chicago Street, and only family members were admitted to that. So, but we're getting closer to the big event here in mid-August, and free parking, State Hospital grounds, 75,000 visitors expected, according to the information in the papers, and they advertise they need some help for men to put up tents for this to occur, and report, and you'll be on the job. So where did this take place? The exposition grounds today is the driver, the Secretary of State's driver south of that area. So this isn't probably that area as well, but this is the part of the State Hospital grounds that occurred at. And today, if I went out there and took a picture, I'd find people standing in line there all the time. I passed by there fairly regularly, and actually there weren't many there the day, but when they came by, but that's where it would occur. So what were some of the other highlights of this event? There'd be a welcome arch, and I'm gonna have pictures of all of this. You know, some people might have taken them, and maybe we'd end up some in our collection someday. Cost 25 cents to get in. If you wanted to go see the Miss Elgin contest, that was 50 cents. There'd be 50 booths of different displays available, and this is a copy of the souvenir booklet that we have a copy of over here from the museum collection. So factory signals, whistles signaled the start of the big parade they would have to kick this off, and factory whistles were commonly used to kick off events in the old days, if you will. The parking of the parade included department store floats, babies in carriages, steam clappies, the mayor, St. Charles home drill team, plumbers union, and more were all part of this big parade in the downtown. The parade, according to the newspapers, was attended by 10,000 people. 22,000 of them made their way to the exposition grounds following the parade. This is not a very good picture, but it's one from the paper at the time of one of the entries in the parade. And this is from the Theodore Swan department store in downtown Elgin. And I don't know if this got everybody's liking or not, but this is in the brochure that you can see right here. There's a girly review. So I imagine some people went to see that. They announced the perfect baby contest, or they had that. And there was more on that all, but I didn't follow all the details of that. But the winner would be Kenneth Charles Kruger, 10 months old, 21 pounds, 8 perfect teeth. The only child of Mr. and Mrs. Alfred Kruger from 160 Jefferson Avenue, never been ill except for colds. So, and baby contests are not unusual. They appear in the paper from time to time for one reason or another. Babies are always cute, so why not run a contest? So as the contest got closer, the identity of the girl with the golden mask was revealed. And I got a little techie here with this one. So I have a mask in front of her face. And when I push the next button here, the mask should disappear. Anyway, she was described as beautiful, 16 years old, and an Elgin product. Her name was Rose Dean, and that's what she looked like anyway. So that's what one of the 16-year-old entrants looked like then. So it's all marketing, this whole thing, baby contests and everything. So we're finally getting going here. We're gonna have a contest, right? So how would we be judging these Miss Elgin contests? According to the newspapers: poise, personality, refinement, the figure, and facial beauty. So the judges were all Elgin businessmen at the beginning. That would kind of change and evolve over time. And as the contest progressed, the number of girls would be reduced in number. Eventually, though, the judges got it down to 8 contestants. And I thought I'd put them all up here, and you can kind of see, click through them carefully. And depending on what promotional piece you saw from the museum, you've seen the picture winner of this, and as her image appeared with the stuff that we've sent out. So she's one of them. It got down to these final 8. Then they were narrowed down to 4. And now, gee, are you able to pick the winner? If you've seen the things that have been out in the newspapers and social media, or not news, I don't know if the newspapers carried that picture, but her picture appeared there. But the winner is one of those 4. So maybe you can figure it out who it is. And then it came down to 2. And then it kind of got stuck there for a little bit. The judges couldn't make up their minds. So they wanted to examine their teeth. These are all men judges now. Then they asked Miss Burns to remove her stockings. And then they called the girls in time and time again. And the audience is out there clamoring, come on, give us a winner, come on, you know, who's it going to be? Took a little while to get that finally decided. But then they finally named the winner, Lucille Charlotte Burns, as a Miss Elgin from 1925. So, and that's the piece, the promotional stuff that came out at that time. What else did they give her besides the honor of the orange? She was given 50 bottles of perfume. So if I still have a curling iron, remember Bob here was very much in vogue. 3 pairs of silk hose, string of pearls, wristwatch, an Elgin wristwatch, of course, complete wardrobe, and much more, according to the papers. So not everybody was happy with this pageant, though, as you can imagine. So it was designed to raise money for the police and the Kane County motorcycle guys. That originally they said, well, we may have a $2,000 loss here. We never really came out ahead. Later, the people associated with the pageant said, well, we broke even. We broke even. Anyway, the American Legion, which had just begun several years earlier in Elgin, of course, still very prominent in Elgin today, was very, very into things and causes and things in Elgin. They had some concerns as well. The American Legion said during this pageant, contestants sat on flags. They had flags hanging in the wrong direction. The Union should be on one side. Flags were draped on automobile hoods. They were pushed into holes in fences, and flags were hanging in one place, some places just by one nail. So some contestants weren't happy either. They charged the winners were predetermined. Others said they never got the bathing suit that was supposed to be provided to them, in that Kellermann suit. And some said their measurements were not taken. Some said they planned to protest to the Miss America Pageant. Others said many did not attend the coronation. And then others said they planned to consult an attorney. They did not feel that this contest was run according to the way they'd like to see it. And believe it or not, there were charges of illegal gambling. Imagine that. Clergy wasn't happy either. So, one clergyman, and these are the stories in the newspapers report later, the event was not a financial success because the citizens of the community did not approve of it. If I had known what I was getting to, I would not have gone there, said another clergyman. It was disgusting to go up there and see a lot of half-naked girls parading about. another one set. So pageant organizers, well, you know, I'll tell you what we think here. These young ladies are from the best families in Elgin. Their characters carefully investigated, they said. The silence was not viewed as a means of shocked approval. In many people's minds, the silence signaled an awed appreciation and admiration of the beauty. So when a parade was scheduled for the second day, it was rained out, and everyone having the best weekend. August can be rough weather sometime. They moved the coronation and the change to, they were going to have it on a Sunday. You don't do things on Sunday in Elgin. Today, various times, and that's not a good time to do it in the 1920s either. That's church day. So anyway, finally the thing moved back to Saturday at the urging of the city council, and the contest ended at that time. So what happened to our contestant? She did go to the Miss America Pageant on the East Coast, and it was just beginning at that time. So began in 1920 as the Fall Frolic, which was done to extend summer tourism, held at the $1 Million Pier in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and that is a picture of the 1921 Miss Elgin or Miss America from Wikipedia. And these are the contestants in the 1925 Miss American contest. Lucille Burns is in here. In fact, I'm going to give you a larger image of this in a minute, but she's the bottom row, third from the left in there. I'm kind of not too much into technology, but I drew a red thing about her. So she's standing there with all the other contestants. Some came from that are missed something from a state, other ones from cities. So she's got a lot of competitors there. But and you can, I found these, by the way, simply by Googling the Miss America Pageant. You can find pictures of the pageant winners from various years. So this is from the anyway. This is the Miss Elgin pageant there. Miss Elgin, she's third from the left on in the front row. So that's how she stands next to Miss Seattle. And who's the other one up there? Miss, I'm not even sure. Water something, yeah. The whole names are listed in the pageant information. And then just scanning left to right, these are the names from some of the other ones in the middle. And on the right, these are the other contestants. And finally, from the right side, these are the other contestants. And if you even want to go to the website and even expand it and see what some of the others look like, that should ever interest you. So on the final ones from the right. So the winner of the Miss America Pageant 1925 that Lucille was competing with was Miss California. And that's a picture from the pageant page. And this is another one is from the Elgin newspaper at that time. So how did Lucille Burns feel about this contest? She said, words cannot express how wonderful the pageant was. The money expended must have been tremendous. Had to keep my Elgin watch on, perfect time, for I was asked on every hand what time it was. And that was the idea for her to promote Elgin products, including the Elgin watch that she wore. So whatever happened to Lucille Burns? Well, she returned her job at Swan's department store in Elgin. 1927, she got married. Her husband was Clifford Kruger. He was a 1918 graduate of Elgin High School, so he's a few years older than her. He attended Lake Forest College and later worked for the I-10 Biscuit Company. And that's a picture of him from his 1918 Elgin High School yearbook picture. So it'd be a few years later when they got married, but that's what he looked like then. And then this picture also is of Lucille Burns from her yearbook picture. And again, I did a little homework or dug here, dug there. We could probably find some other pictures of them at the time. So she married him from Elgin High School, and that's the pictures from the time. So would you like to met Miss Burns? Sure, been interesting. Well, you don't really have that opportunity, but in 2016, we did feature her in the cemetery walk. And I was just talking to Laura Stroud, who was coordinating that. One person couldn't make it. And Rebecca Miller from our organization chipped in and kind of did a portrayal of her, but she was recorded did a very nice job, Lauren said, even though she was kind of asked as a fill-in at the later on. So we do have that record. In fact, coming up, I guess, or I think this would be available on DVD here at the museum store, and many of our other ones I think are going to be or will soon be on YouTube eventually. I think some of the other cemetery walk programs now entering our 34th year. That Bill asked me if there's anything we should promote, and I want to promote. I guess I'd promote that. And this is an old program, so I have a picture of Bluff City Cemetery with the Shone. We're out there, a little bit of snow, but this is her grave with her husband, Lucille Burns and Clifford, and they're right over just a little east and south of the office a little bit, not too far off.
What's your year?
92 for her and 1980 for her husband. And there were other Miss Elgins too, by the way. After taking a year off, the contest resumed 1927, 1928, and 1987, the contest became the Miss Fox Valley pageant. And that was resumed, and I guess that should appear first. These are some of the different winners that appeared. And someday I'd like to get into technology of scrolling them up, but I haven't figured out how to do that yet. Some of you may know some of these people. There are some of our contemporaries in high school and other things. One I do know is, you may know her too, is Kathleen True, now Kathleen Hedell. I talked to her when I did this program. She runs the Learning Tree in Elgin, and you may know some of the other ones. And there's one other one I'm going to feature. One of the Miss Elgins that go on to become Miss Illinois, and that is Dulcie Scripture. In 1969, she became the Miss Illinois, the newspapers at that time. So I think that's a nice honor. So kind of at the tail end here, the different things I used for this, and special thanks to David, who was here and sitting back then and back there. He's always a great help to me, and of course Liz and the whole company around there. But that's the end, and kind of there. And I did want to add that, and I think it was 2018, the Miss America pageant kind of changed its name, and also it doesn't have a swimsuit competition anymore, and how they judge and how they run it's different. So it's not quite the same thing. So, and again, I began by noting this. I'm not any kind of expert on Miss America pageant, and some of the people sitting here could probably answer questions better than I can about all that played out. But Liz?
Okay, so why, I thought Miss America was made of state representatives.
It is a day, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and so at that time, Elgin was represented, like was there other?
I think it was a little looser organizations.
So
In
you
fact,
could just enter if you wanted.
I think so, yeah. In fact, some of the other, if you look at on the photo or from the website, some of the other ones are from different cities. So it's whenever, again, I don't know how it all evolved, eventually became states. Today, I did a little bit of looking at the Miss Illinois pageant. That's also kind of, I don't even know the rules are the same on how you get there. Anybody here that can add a little bit about those beauty pageants or something, feel free to
Jerry,
do
there's
that.
somebody on Zoom. Miss
Oh.
Elgin 1971 is on Zoom.
Oh,
Her name
who?
is Deb Kelly.
Deb Kelly, can we put her on here to,
Yes, she's right there.
okay, are we able to hear her voice better or?
I think so.
Oh,
Try and talk, Deb.
Okay, so I was Deborah Mueller growing up in Elgin. And I left to go to college and really didn't come back, though in the middle of college, I was Miss Elgin of 1971. And I'm sure there are people in the audience, for years, the Miss Elgin pageant was run by the JCs, who did great, wonderful charitable work. It was their biggest fundraiser. They did great work with the money. But I also want to say what it meant to me. This 71 was before Title IX. Girls didn't get much. They didn't get sports. They didn't get anything. And the Elgin pageant was so big that I got $1,500 for college in 1971. That was 2/3 of my tuition at a private college.
wow.
That was almost as much money as Miss Illinois got. And we were the biggest in the state. They did a marvelous job. And it's not part of our culture anymore, and we laugh and
Right.
giggle and all of that about the old pageant stuff. But I am very, very grateful to the JCs and the work they did in the Miss Elgin pageant. I'm kind of disappointed that they became Miss Fox Valley because I wish they would have reunions.
Mhm. Maybe you should organize one.
I
So-
live in Denver now.
Oh, okay. Well, you're get together by Zoom. I don't know. We appreciate you weighing in here. Does the audience have any other questions here? The audience in person or anyone else? Anything that you want to add? I don't mean to bring your
No.
comments to an end.
It's fine.
Okay.
It was at Hemmons when it was first built, so it was just very cool. It was in Hemmons.
Right, I think it opened, what, 69 or something, yeah. Yeah, I'm really glad you checked in with us here today. How did you hear about it? Through social media or?
I'm a member. I came to my
Okay.
50th class reunion, maybe even my 45th, and joined. My grandfather actually graduated from the Elgin Academy. And I went to church at Holy Trinity right up the street. So I also want to very much thank the History Museum for the way, I mean, I know you started these Zoom things as a way to be connected during the pandemic, but it has so much renewed my interest and connection to Elgin. I really, really love it and appreciate it.
Glad to hear that. I personally feel that way too, and I think some of the others do, that Zoom is a thing of the future, that we can have people here and reaching from a distance for whatever reason. So appreciate hearing that. So-
Jerry, this is Al Walters. Can I break in for a second?
Sure.
Deb, interesting to see you. One of the young ladies you defeated in the 71 contest was my first wife.
Well, one of the people I defeated in 71 became, I think, Miss Elgin in 72.
Well, that was not her.
And I went looking, it's all in a box somewhere. So I was just trying to find my stuff from last year. Just little silly things. They changed the crown the second or third year after I was no longer Miss Elgin, because we used to have a very unique circular heart crown, and then everybody copied the Miss America crowns. But I always thought ours were cooler. But again, I can't emphasize how much. I think it was Barbara Washer was my chaperone. The Washer appliance, this is from South Elgin. We're a big part of the JCs. And again, that amount of money for a local pageant in that day and age was just amazing, just really wonderful. And my other favorite thing about winning the pageant was, who was the Buick dealer? I'll remember it, but I got it wasn't a Buick. I got a green, emerald green convertible with a white interior to drive for the summer that said Miss Elgin on it. It was so cool.
That's great story. Great story. Probably McBride. Yeah, probably McBride.
And Kathy True, the year she won, had a 1966 Olds 98 convertible.
Yeah, they were
Which
great.
eventually my brother owned. So.
Well, I only got to use this for the summer. They didn't actually give me a car.
Right, and
But-
same with Kathy. She had it for about 6 months.
Yeah. But again, the JCs, I don't know if there's such an organization. I know, Gen Xers and millennials don't join those kinds of things like we all did, but they were just the heart and soul of Elgin at that time. They really were. Everybody was everybody. If you were under 40 and in business in Elgin, you were part of the JCs.
I agree. I was joined in the 80s. Yep. So any other comments or things from, or do we have other people coming in on Zoom that want to talk to us at all? Trish, or-
I told him to write comments, but I don't have any.
Okay.
So who was the gentleman there?
He's our Historical Society president, Al Walters. Yeah. So I guess we'll bring this to a close then. Well, we thank you again for all of you people on Zoom, and thanks for joining us, and stay connected for other programs in the future. Remember, our cemetery walk this year will also be available virtually. So Liz or anybody else in the museum want to add anything? Otherwise, yeah.
Have to ask, was Lucille Burns any relation to Fred Burns, the pharmacy?
Not that I know of. Yeah, I didn't see anything in there that paperwork about that type of thing. So obviously the Milton Burns, I think, who ran the pharmacy, was a well-known name in Elgin, but not anything that I saw. So I think we're good here. So just someone saying they appreciate the Zooms. So that'll end today's program then. So we thank you all for joining us.